around that one, but we actually, I may spend 25.
We're gonna put them in a conference room.
I knew it would come. Yeah, I'm bringing it out.
You got an office with you.
You know, you open the door, it's the bathroom.
Put your back on, you can't do that.
We'll put his name on it.
Hey, you saw how Rob was shooting the first.
Yeah, that was
goes in the top.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Sorry you got Z team. That, Verizon. We got our names on the outside. What's happening, man? Chief finds out, and I'm like,
If it's raining, you gotta buy good.
he's fine with it.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I was we got a production team
You may want to tell her I'm well. How are you?
You're welcome.
How do you do, Liz? How do you do? Hey, Ricky.
Oh, yeah, every time we go somewhere,
I sit way back here.
Ricky is on.
we got New Jersey.
Carter. Ricky's
I'd like to call a meeting to order, please. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. If you're like me, you're still trying to get dried out. I think my socks are wet.
Back from Chief Milano. He and I talked prior to the meeting, as well as some conversation we had at Fire Rescue, and he shared some observations that he had so far as Leadership Institute, and particularly with the application and selection process. It was well received. The group as a whole talked through several things. A lot of exciting things. I feel like there was a discussion about what I'll term a denial pathway. The committee felt that it was important that whatever applicants do not make it through the selection process, with the hope that with marketing we increase those numbers, right? So in the future, and both hopefully in the fall, with the next selection process, whomever doesn't make it through, the message is instead of no, it's more not now. And so then they can be provided with a pathway to improve and a pathway to hopefully bring themselves back the next year and be successful. And that could include potentially mentorship and stuff like that. At the meeting, it was more of a conversation, so there's really no action items for the EC. A lot of good conversations coming out of that. There was a couple recommendations that I don't think require a vote, and it was potentially looking at removing the redaction for the applicants to be kind of more in line, similar to what Rick and his team do with the officer section, Fire Officer Academy, and then a Chief, I'm probably gonna butcher the name of it, a fire chief questionnaire that will be provided to the sponsoring agency for the applicant to kind of get some more detailed information. And so all that was well received, good conversations, and some additional ideas. Nothing for the committee here to approve. We'll keep you advised. We're gonna meet virtually sometime in September, and Ross will be included on that as well, because I think a lot of the stuff we're talking about will fall under his year next year. So that's my report.
Awesome. Sounds like some great stuff. Thank you. Speaking of Ross, the committee of one.
Yep, I got to attend Jason Dennis' meeting with his committee, and I was just telling Kevin how impressed I was with all the great questions for Jason and the staff about the new building. I'll be attending the EMS committee meeting coming up, 18th, and going to the North Carolina Fire Rescue Conference with you guys tomorrow, so looking forward to that.
Thank you. Past President Committee, Randy Avery.
Good morning, thank you, Mr. President. We've got a meeting on the schedule for the 18th as well. We've got, as of right now, close to 15 past presidents that's emailed back, responded back saying they'll be here. Obviously, the main objective on the 18th is we're going to walk through hopefully the new building. We'll come back here and then go over the goals that you had given for the group. And obviously, if there's anything else that the group wants to go over to discuss. And kind of the two personal projects that I'm wanting to do while being on this committee, I've started one of those two. So that's my report.
Thank you, sir. Supervisory Committee, Ben Weir.
Good morning. I'm still trying to figure out this job a little bit, but our last in-person meeting was 4/28. That was our audit review, annual audit review. And all members of our committee were present. We do have several of the 1% regional training classes on the books, one being this Thursday, Pickens, and that's about all I have to report, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Member benefits, Ryan Eubanks.
Good morning, Mr. President, thank you. I too am learning my role, so we haven't met formally, but I have spoken to the majority of the committee, charged them with what you charged me to try to work on. They were all in support of those ideas. There's a general consensus that they would like to meet in person as much as feasible versus virtual. So we're trying to facilitate that, have a conversation with Dorinda today to try to schedule those dates out. Probably the resounding voice that I got from them was that to continue to work on member exclusives and try to best figure out how to continue to communicate and market that. So that's where we stand right now. That's my report.
Thank you, sir. Training and education, Terry Sherry.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President. Our last meeting was July 23rd. Everybody was in attendance. We provided the committee with President Womack's expectations and goals. We also discussed any additional attendance or improvements to fire rescue, and also went over the course evaluations of what our members are requesting for us to expand on. Call for presenters for 2026 closes at the end of September, so if you got somebody that is wanting to instruct or anything, please have them make sure they put those in by the end of September. We will then meet in October to review and select and try to formulate the classes for 2026 fire rescue. We also reviewed Fire Service Improvement Conference for 2026. We put a schedule together. We also, if you recall, the driver operator program was the first time we provided that last year, so we revamped it a little bit. Also too, as everybody knows, the cost of everything's gone up, so there's a little increase in the tentative plan or layout, so at the appropriate time, we'll provide that to the president and the executive committee for review and hopefully approval. But the goals and feedback that we got from our members, we feel that this should meet and continue to expand and improve the improvement conference. So at the appropriate time, we'll provide that and hopefully get approval for that. But other than that, the other thing we have is next Wednesday, the Fire Academy advisory meeting on campus at 10 o'clock. And then the final thing we have is one of the goals that President Womack asked for us to look into is training officers working group. So we're looking at having our first meeting virtually this Friday. So other than that, that's important unless somebody's getting questions or comments. And I think the quarterly is going to be discussed later. We kind of got that buttoned up for quarterly. So.
Thank you, sir. Health and safety, I know Brad's not here, but is he on the line?
He was not.
Yes, Mr. President, you're online. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Brad, we got you.
All right, great. Thank you, sorry I couldn't be there in person. Our committee has a meeting scheduled for next week. We'll be welcoming and catching up to speed with the new members and going over our objectives and goals, along with brainstorming some new ideas and campaigns for the next year. Then that concludes my report.
Thank you, Brad. Strategic planning, Billy Barnes.
Yes, sir. We met on July 23rd. I'm thanking staff for obviously this living document as we move through it. We started going back and reviewing some stuff, trying to find some verbiage that may need to be updated or changed. We got halfway through the goals and objectives, and want to kind of give you a brief on where we are right now to see if everybody kind of agrees with it, to kind of move forward with it.
I apologize. I have too many things. Nope. Yep, I got that.
The way of getting that up and going, obviously our next meeting will be August 18th also, will be virtual, as we kind of go through it.
Okay.
Alright, a lot of discussion was had with the 1%, some items, 1A2, was discussed, was thought, create a draft plan to revise the code, or the code of laws for Title 23. What we kind of changed it to, you can see, is create an internal, because obviously we don't want to open that document up right now, to kind of get the internal plan, decide what it looks like, and then be able to present. A lot of discussion was who needs to be on that group whenever it needs to happen, but obviously that can come back at a later date. Scroll down a little bit more online. This is something we discussed at the last meeting. This was under finance and audit. The recommendation from the EC was to move this to supervisory committee. That was the update on this portion here. We are working on performance measures, which will come at a later point. All right, break. Scroll down to 2A1. Or 2A2 actually is where we're looking at. We talked about here about the healthcare gap insurance, which already has been done. We just went there and changed, work with SCFIS to look at the research on it every year to see if it's a feasible option. 2A3 was research and evaluate the feasibility of a firefighter retirement community home and for the association. It was a recommendation to go ahead and drop this, at this time, until we can find some future options, and maybe come back around to that. For A1, the next one. And this was just a simple change from Community Engagement Committee to Recruitment and Retention Committee, as the rebranding of that committee's been changed. I think that was it. 6B1 is not highlighted. The original one was provide ongoing continuing education and training for peer members in coordination to strengthen their skills and capacity to effectively support and serve association members. One thing we changed it to was to skills and financial capacity, looking for the financial options as they become available. I think that was it, correct, Rick? Is there any questions or comments or concerns on those changes?
With the one with the possible retirement home, obviously I know that was a goal that you had for the group. I guess my question is like, I mean, is it hurting anything just to stay in there? So it is kind of a vision or something we are looking, you know, not saying it's gonna happen next year. I mean, maybe 10 years from now, it still may not happen, but obviously, you know, it's still being something that we are striving to look at. I guess what I'm asking is it hurting anything for it to stay in there? That way we do know that it is something that we are, you know.
I think originally it was research to evaluate the feasibility of it. And we can look in there and we can change some of the verbiage to review it annually. If so, more fit.
I think if maybe we just lighten the wording of it, you know, explore options or, you know, however that needs to look as far as just having a finger on the pulse, basically, maybe not like looking to hard and heavy at doing it, but at least look at options so we know what we can plan for long term. I think, I guess my personal opinion is as we move towards this building, that's probably gonna delay any other big projects for a little while. So,
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I was trying to drop it for now, but we can go back and reword it again and try to bring it
I think
up.
I'm good with leaving it, it's just change the word.
So, just leave it as it is.
If I think that would be good, just again, it does allow us to have some direction, and that is something that the past presidents, you know, committee is looking at. Again, may not happen anytime soon, but at least it does give us something to continue to look at, so it's not just dropped completely. That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
Yeah. And so leave 2A3 as it is. All but any other questions or concerns about anything else that was changed or?
A lot of, this is just round discussion for just a second, but while we're on the topic, do a lot of you as committees feel you understand your goal and measuring that, or do we need to kind of, do we need to work with this committee and kind of put some objectives out there a little bit more?
So what we're gonna do next is obviously, once we kind of get everything come back in place, is we send each committee chair, and then there's gonna be talk about an annual report and then how to track it.
I know that's something we kind of,
Could be helpful.
right, we discussed some kind of tracker from year to year as people change or things rotate, not losing that good discussion that's what's happening. Good.
That's my report.
Thank you, sir. Bylaws Committee, Charles?
Yes, Mr. President, I've spent the last month reviewing the bylaws and creating an outline of topics for us to discuss in the pending meeting to be set in September to meet your goal of a full review of the bylaws. Wanted to have at least a place to start with the committee so it wasn't just, hey, let's go read the whole thing. Tried to come up with some highlights from the past 2 presidencies of conversations in these meetings, those topics that they wanted addressed, and then we'll start there.
Fantastic, thank you. EMS Committee, Charles?
We're meeting on the 18th here. We are first meeting under the new change. So outside of that, I submitted the KIDS proposal that we've been working on. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review that or want to discuss that now or in new business. I'll defer that to y'all. Outside of that, I'll be attending the EMS Association's Leadership Conference up in Greenville, September. So,
we can, I say we discuss that proposal in new business, because I think that's gonna involve a couple of folks, right?
sounds good to me.
Okay.
That's all I have for now.
Yeah, just in- Conference committee, Chief Guire.
Good morning, everyone. So I reached out to all the sitting members of the committee to make sure that they were still interested in serving. All of them would like to be reappointed or want to continue serving. One new member, Charlie King, reached out to him, just kind of shared with the expectations of the committee, kind of what the committee's all about, that sort of thing. We have our first meeting scheduled on August 26th. We wanted to schedule it after FRI because obviously people are attending. If there's any ideas that they have or they see at FRI that we could institute, we want to talk about it. And really that's it. We have the goals provided by the president and based on the stuff we've done in the past, kind of have that formulated and just ready to get forward, get moving with 2026 planning.
Great, thank you, sir. Thank Chaplain Jenkins, already gave his update. Heritage Committee, John Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Carter and I met last, matter of fact, a week ago today, I believe, kind of a brainstorming session, talk about some possibilities and some direction, and we also have a meeting of the full committee scheduled, I think, for the 26th, and hopefully have the opportunity for the full committee to walk through the new facility, to focus on the areas that might be designated toward the museum. So it'd be a first opportunity for those folks to be able to see, what the potential is, so that you'll have and matter of fact, I've not been in the building other than in the lobby. So eager to be able to go into the facility and look at the areas that might be designated toward the museum and get some ideas of, how it might flow or how it might be laid out and those kind of things. And Carter, you want to expound on any of the things that we've talked about? Carter's been busy, as you can imagine.
It's interesting. I reached out to a number of potential sponsors for some money, and since John Nelson Gainwell is from Camden, I figured, well, Honeywell, Gainwell, why not? And I was able, after several phone calls, to reach the regional rep and told him what we were doing, and we would like some technical support as well as some financial support. And as I got into the story of Gainwell, he said, never heard of it. And I said, well, there's a lot of story there to tell. And he said, well, I'll be down sometime this month and we'll talk more about it. And he committed to some technical support, designing the evolution. And he said, I don't think financial support is a problem. So it's out there. And anyway, we have been busy, and we have just written a letter of request to the Leary Firefighters Foundation. Dennis Leary, the movie star. You don't fill out an application until they review your letter of request, and we drafted that, and it should be sent out today or tomorrow. And we're requesting 100,000, so who knows? We'll see. Anyway, we're in that process, as some of you are, so thank you for your support.
got several other grant possibilities that we're looking at. So if any of you have, two old guys looking at fire grants or museum grants, if any of you have any expertise on grant writing or have somebody on your staff that are as well versed in that kind of stuff, and all of you that have participated in grants before, kind of the roadmap that it takes specific to say the right words and to do the right things in order to be eligible. If any of you have that expertise or would be willing to help, we can certainly use some guidance in that area. We've identified several that we feel like that we could fit into, and we're gonna swing for the fence. We're gonna do our best shot. But when you do a grant, you want to put your best foot forward. So if anybody has any recommendations or any solutions there, we would welcome those. So I think that's all for the moment, Mr. President.
Thank you. And there's still a letter floating out there for legislators, right? For legislative state support.
State funding?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on the desk from last session, and it'll be put back on the desk for this session as well. We've got 5 we're supposed to try to get in front of and try to get some traction in that. We'll probably start on the House side and then work our way over to the Senate. That's our plan.
Okay.
Trying to get the House Ways and Means chairman to jump on board with us. Not there yet, but we're
Trying to look at the history and heritage piece, but also the training piece for having a meeting room, to try to make sure we look at all avenues of possibility of funding. So if you know of anybody else that might have a relationship to that type of, I know how our vendors are always just always taxed to death, but if you have any ideas, doesn't have to sponsor. In my vision, if we have a cabinet with this display in it, in my mind, like Motorola radios, maybe Motorola could sponsor that and provide things. That's something Carter and I talked about. So it doesn't have to be a whole, sponsor a whole area. It could be a wall or a cabinet or something that tells the story of the history of the fire service.
There was one other phone call. Several months ago, we had the opportunity to meet some of the family of Chief Louis Barons up there on the wall. And I think I shared with you that one of the very distant cousins is Lauren Hutton, the movie star. Well, I called a Sunday night and laid a foundation that we've got a building and whatever, and we want a nice rendering of Chief Barrows, and she said, well, let me know. I want to contribute. So anyway, we'll see. I don't know what that means, but anyway.
Called her on Sunday, but on Monday he came in with a lot of pep in his step. I don't know.
What he meant to say is he just worked that into their normal conversation.
You call on Sunday night, she likes calls at night, so.
You dig into the hole deep.
If he becomes missing, we're gonna look for him in Hollywood.
Yeah, that concludes my report.
I'm glad you left some of that report out. Thank you both. I may get one of you to send me, or Chief Helms, if you got that document, I'll have some legislators in front of me in a couple of weeks for some resiliency stuff. So I don't know if it'll do any good, but there's a few of them supposed to be there, so I'll try to mention that. Recruitment and retention, Chief Holtzheimer, I don't know if he's on the line. Should be.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Appreciate you staying in Greenville and taking one for the team.
Thank you. Thank you. You can elaborate more to that after we go off the meeting here, everybody. But thank you. So just to let everybody know, I sent out an email last week about the recruitment and retention committee, and I appreciate those that have responded. I sent an email to the group and only had 3 people respond back, so I'm trying to find some alternatives to get people involved in that group and hopefully help recruit and retain firefighters in our state. So we're working on it. I hopefully have something and get a meeting scheduled in September. That is my report.
Sounds great, thank you. Technology and communication, Jennifer Thaxton.
So we are meeting in person for the first time tomorrow. I was hoping to have it done before this meeting, but that changed. So we'll be meeting at 11:30 here. We'll work on establishing the goals and the timelines, but the overarching focus areas have already been discussed. I've talked to Brooke about those. He's already shared some feedback on some of the projects and ideas. So at the top of my list, I have supporting the strategic plan, tracking, communication, whatever you need from us with the help of the tracking tools. Modernize the member communication tools, and Brooke shared with me the LI group project from 2021, which was a survey results on like preferred communication. So we'll review that. He shared some pricing on some text messaging tools that had already been explored. Of course, we'll continue the advocacy for the Palmetto 800 system, provide any kind of fire service technology resources and outreach, so like buying guides, tip sheets, videos, whatever. We'll need to figure out what the need is first. And then also evaluating and improving the 1% portal user experience. And so we talked a little bit that you're transitioning to the cloud instead of like an offsite server, and so we can work through the vendor and see if they've got options available. And then supporting enhancements for the fire rescue conference app. So those are the overarching areas that we want to go, and so tomorrow I think we'll dive into what are the priorities, what are the specific actual goals.
Thank you. The Emergency Management Committee, Matt Ray.
Good morning. Thank you. As of last week, we're trying to finalize the list of committee members, and we have not met late last week trying to identify those people. Thank you for the help on that. But kind of in the background since then, continuing to look for updates on relevant changes that will affect us from the federal side. There is a concurrent meeting today where I know reimbursement is a topic which will be super helpful across the fire service. So we'll be working after this to package some of that and share, as well as a meeting scheduled later this month on some federal funding sources that I hope will be a benefit going along. So really just starting the conversations and hoping to get it going.
Thank you. OSHA Committee, Chief Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a moment of personal privilege, I'd like to say that due to the report just offered by our historian and our culturalist, I now kind of understand why his wife's been calling me on the phone as late as last night. So I just want to air that out, the fact that now I understand why his wife's making phone calls, because he's making phone calls for accuracy.
Can we move on?
Mr. President, here to the point of the report, there are two sections I'd like to offer some information on the federal side and the state side. On the federal side, you may remember that there were a number of committees and discussions of compromise established between a number of federal players, of which you were gracious enough to allow me to participate in one of the subcommittees. Our reporting work was done, was forwarded back. I know that in the state of Massachusetts, a number of meetings were held on those compromises, and as of this date, I've heard nothing more about that at the federal level. My tendency is to believe that the impasse probably is those labor-centric issues that we all knew would be of great concern in that standard. But we will continue to monitor that, participate as allowed to see where the federal proposed standard is going to go. Right now, I've heard no further movement or development on that project. That may elaborate because he participated as NDFC as well, but I'm not. On the state level, if I may, to transition a little bit, you'll remember that our draft plan had 5 subparts. Subpart A being the fire side, and I'll elaborate on it a little bit first. Subpart A was written, it was 16 pages in length. You established a working committee that went through line by line that document and approved it. We then established a beta test group, which is ongoing right now. We have 24 persons that are working right now to go through that document in detail to review it. We are having this week, I'm hosting 4 different teams meetings of those 24 persons. They're required to attend at least one. A number of them have chosen to do multiple just because they want to be part of that conversation. I felt really good about that. So we'll be holding those beta test teams meetings this week. Followed up, they have to answer about a 100-question questionnaire to provide feedback on what they found in that standard. All of that combined in then bringing back to your subcommittee to make any changes necessary as seen by this larger fire service group. I'm very comfortable with it. Conversations have been coming to me through phone calls. I'm really feeling good about the work that's been previously done on Subpart A. I think we're really on a good track with it. More about that in a moment. Subpart B is the EMS component of that. I went ahead and wrote the EMS component. It's 7 pages in length. I reached out to our EMS chair for guidance, support, and help in his direction. He provided me with a list of individuals that he felt would be qualified to serve as a review group for Subpart B, and to do the same thing in sense that we did with Subpart A. I regret to report, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman, I would have loved to have had the conversation, but due to Mother Nature, I didn't get here early, so I apologize. But I've heard back from one person, and she's a member or a strong working member of a number of these committees that we would all know by face and name. The rest of them ain't even heard go jump the creek back from them. So I think we've got a fundamental decision, Mr. President, committee chair, and others, about, number one, my action items to report to you about how, if any, or where or when we proceed with Subpart B. Because I just quite frankly think that there's probably little, or we just haven't hit the right people as far as those that may be interested in helping to develop it. There was some talk about other agencies hiring a professional to do some writing of it. Now, I'm not being egotistical about it. I think that my efforts are at the level of somebody who would charge much more money, but nonetheless, I think the document that I've drafted is probably a very good and realistic one, a good place to start at least. But if we were to proceed, Mr. President, I think one of the decisions is how and which do we engage other people, or we just proceed on as we need and pick our own folks to review the document. Because I don't know, and I will defer and pause a moment if you wish, offer some of my time to the chairman just to see if there's a reaction from that or anything, Kevin, that you might feel is it right people, wrong people, or you just think there's apathy.
So, like, a lot of it stems from the EMS side of, they don't feel like they're part of the current, and why go poking things that I'm not part of. So there's been a lot of resistance from that side of it. So that was the group that was, I guess, formed in partnership with the EMS Association. And what you have experienced is what I've been experiencing for the last several months or whatnot. Yeah, I don't know what the best course of action is going to be with that. I'm hesitant on my side of the fence to write stuff that's, going toward transport agencies, private agencies, things like that. It's going to directly affect them, and I'm not a part of that world per se, but I don't know if anybody has any recommendations on anybody that may be a better fit to be involved in that.
Thank you, sir. And again, Mr. President, I think we've got a really good, well-defined process on how to get through the development and perfection of the document. I think we tried it in Subpart A, it's worked really good. How do we get somebody from the EMS community engaged and participate with us in developing it when their leadership is basically saying we don't want a part of it because we don't think it's going to happen, was the original reaction I got, or let's just wait and see. And that really has not been our philosophy as an executive committee up to this point, to wait and see. It's been, let's be proactive and get ahead of the thing. So the question then for the group is just going to be to offer me direction as you see fit of how you want to proceed with it, or we just truck on, because without you answering that question and me moving on to another part of this, Subpart C, D, and E is somewhat in the same part. And I think that the law enforcement subpart's going to be easy, right, because it's so minor. The special ops component of it, we've got several people that have been named that would probably be good people to help. That's yet to be developed. The industrial side, we've really got a workforce, but hadn't gotten anything back from them. So I think we're going to be faced with similar type things with all the other subparts, is that because, as the chairman just very adeptly identified, those folks aren't used to dealing with the standard very much. This is new to them, but the feds have counted them in now, so whether they like it or not, they're in. They're gonna be in this thing when the feds roll their standard out. So either don't do anything till it comes out or be proactive. And I still affirm that the proactive approach is the best approach for you. But we just gotta decide, can we find anybody or are we just struggling?
And in fact, one more thing in there is I actually spoke with the EMS Association's lawyer, and their whole stance was, you know, don't go poking with things right now, wait till things come out, and then they'll work. So they're not trying to be proactive. They want to see kind of which way the federal government's going to go, or are they going to wait another 2, 3, 4, 5 years before they go kind of poking the frog around that.
And if I may, the chairman has seen the 7 pages as a component of that. I'm not in the EMS world. I went through first responder back before some of y'all even the fire service. So I don't know anything about that. But I have a tendency to believe that the 7 pages that I wrote were so innocuous that I just don't think it's a big deal. I think we can manage this thing. If we had some subject matter experts in the room, we could craft a language where it would be palatable for everybody and would be workable for the transport private public entities in this state. I don't see a big problem with it.
Quick question, how many departments in the state do we have that transport? I know Chief Carter, y'all transport, right? Horry County does?
Yeah.
Who else do we have that transport? Clemson?
Hilton Head,
Clarendon?
Jasper, Colleton.
Do we reach out to those folks and see who their EMS people are and have those folks to be a part of this committee?
That was gonna be my next question, is after the meeting, can we get the names that you submitted to? And then I thought of probably 8 or 10 right off the top of my head, that's curious about this, that do transport.
So, some other question too, if we write a plan and it doesn't have anything in there about EMS, and it goes to the state OSHA folks to look at, review, to approve, to do whatever they're gonna do with it, what's gonna be their step if they say, before we say we're ready with this as a state plan, we've gotta have something in it, who are they gonna go to? Probably the state agency that oversees EMS, right? And we all know how that works out for everybody, right? So at some point, somebody better stand up and say, don't poke the bear, but the bear's gonna bite you if you don't. I hate to tell you that. You better get prepared. I would recommend, Mr. President, back to the committee to consider pulling together those transport agencies that we have in the fire service and say, hey, here's your plan that we've drafted. Give us your input as a group of people that transport, unless Chief Wire, since you're the only one in the room probably that transports officially, if you say something otherwise, or maybe Jennifer, Rick. I mean, I come from an agency that's very much first responders, so I don't go along and talk to Billy.
You could also try to identify candidates, and regardless, I can think of one candidate in my head right now that has deep knowledge about transport that has returned to the fire world, so.
I'm just throwing that on the table from where I'm sitting, but
they're not currently a transport
I
agency.
think if we sit back and we wait, we're gonna be behind the 8 ball. It's our responsibility to make sure we're providing what we started out with, which is a plan to present to the state of South Carolina, to our state OSHA group. So I'm back up and shut my mouth. I don't think it's saying that.
Mr. President, that's Mike. So he has
That's Norkett.
and he doesn't really have a dog in the fight anymore.
Norkett. Chief Norkett.
As one of the largest transport agencies, we most definitely want to be a part on the front end of this. Obviously, we have Doug that sits on the fire side of it. But I think if from the EMS side, if we step back, it's gonna bite us right square in the butt more than we care for. So most definitely need to be on the front side of this.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we'll do whatever, and I think Midway, they transport, they'd probably be more than happy to. I know their chief is, he's heavily involved in EMS, so, I mean, that's at least 3 between us, Mike.
And their chief is on the subpart A beta test group, so he's familiar with the process, so that might be good.
And Clemson will definitely participate.
So, Mr. President, with your direction, I'll wait and see how you want to assemble a group of names. Maybe we just haven't reached the right people yet, and we're ready to serve when we have those individuals.
The last group that you have that we'll share with everybody was a little heavier in the private aspect of things as well, between Prisma and some of the other private organizations, but they've yet to be responsive.
I saw that list I think y'all are referring to, and it was a good diverse group. I think movers and shakers in the EMS business, but if they're not responding, then I would like to still include them on the invite, but just expand that list out to some others. Chief Guire's group, a couple of others that we know that are in the fire service, Chief Norkett, and get some subject matter experts and just continue to keep those in the loop. If they don't show up, they don't show up, but I think at least they can say we were open.
Well, per your executive director, I'll stand ready to be the recipient. If you've got some names and you want to send them straight to me, I'll be glad to include them, and we'll start collecting a new group for subpart B. Okay. If I may, and I don't mean to make such a belabored report, but there are a couple more decisions that I think at this level. Just for subpart A again, one of the things we're going to start doing shortly after the beta test, with your blessing, is trying to work with staff to schedule some regional training events to be able to share with a larger audience. Again, there's a good bit of apathy when it comes to OSHA standards, and sometimes it affects you, sometimes it doesn't, but I have been attending some chiefs meetings around the state and things, would like to continue that, but maybe at an expanded level to some firefighter groups and associations as well, just to get people on board where we are with subpart A. But I think that a lot of the feedback I've been getting leads to another thought, not a decision today, Mr. President, but an adoption strategy that I think we need to have, is that the last conversation I had with the OSHA director, Ms. Baker, she was of the frame of mind, if these tests went well and people were amenable to the content, don't wait on the feeds. And I think from her perspective, that was the adoption process would be much easier for her if we were comparing our new language to the current, think about the current, not proposed, current 1910-156. That goes again against the grain of some of our other association partners about waiting and seeing what happens. But in the future, not today, Mr. President, but in the future, I think there's probably going to be some discussion amongst the executive committee about adoption strategy, where when we are ready, after these beta tests are done, we go in and pursue it and get ahead of the federal curve, not necessarily the adoption curve. There's some discussion to be had. I just offer that as information. But right now, we're continuing to write the subparts. They will begin a process of writing a narrative that will accompany this document and some checklists as well, but those are forthcoming and ongoing. Mr. President, that's my report, unless there's any questions.
I don't have any. Thank you. Officer section, Tim.
Mr. President. We've met every month since the conference. Just an update on Officers Academy. 46 applicants. We've narrowed it down to the selection committee. Selected 30 from that 46. They're currently in the LMS working through the pre-course assignments. Session will be September 28th, will be the first night, and the graduation will be October 3rd. We're also working through student plan and getting out with membership for some engagement to meet that plan item. Also working with staff on the challenge point poker chip, the QR code in this section, logo on it. To have something to get out of engagement, also trying to bolster the membership. Our report.
What did you say, Officer Academy would start?
We are September 28th, Sunday, the first night, and Friday, October the 3rd, the 25th, will be for those 25 select applicants.
Awesome. Thank you. Insurance Services, Chief Crane?
Yes, good morning, Mr. President. First and foremost, the insurance company has been working very hard. The last several months, this past in August, trying to get all the August renewals. They've been working on that for the last couple of months. That's going well, and those are all done. Happy to report that insurance company, both the business is growing. We've picked up in the last 12 months around 5 agencies on the healthcare side, which is good. And some 2 or 3 on the Providence side, as well as Massa, and on the Washington National side as well. We picked up a few clients there. So about 10 new clients in the insurance company, which is excellent. One thing that the company's been working on here also recently is getting ready and prepared for the RFP that should be coming out from the state on the cancer policy. Anticipating that being out by the 1st of the year, and making sure that we are prepared and ready to respond to that RFP. Obviously, is of the utmost importance. And of course, right now, Lorena and I have been talking on the phone, and she is starting to work through the new budget. And our next meeting for the group is scheduled for the first part of September, and we'll be going through our budget and ensuring that we're ready to have that ready for October. And that's my report.
Thank you. Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things, I apologize for not being here last month. Just kind of give y'all an update. We had a very successful conference raised just north of $35,000 between the silent auction and the golf tournament, which I was very pleased with. And we feel like there's still a lot more room to even raise more. A lot of y'all have heard we plan on doing 2 courses next year because of just the overwhelming people that want to play. We've turned away about 10 teams this year. So next year, we don't want to turn anybody away, especially when they're helping us raise money. Exciting time. It was kind of a joke yesterday. Brian sent out the financials, and the first time I've ever seen us north of $200,000 in the foundation, which I think is awesome. I remember the days of $30,000 and $40,000, $50,000 in there, and being nervous about, are we gonna have enough money to help everybody we need to help? So, foundation's growing, and that's exciting things, and we got a lot of things hopefully coming up. So, we tried to have a meeting yesterday. Due to some conflicts, didn't have but 2 of us on there, so we're trying to reschedule that for next week. One of the things, just if anybody has any opinions, say autism group, want to try to keep it as local as we can to the state and not get it lost. Do we keep it in case people want to go to camp? The autism camp, we can really do, but this Kelly really looking for ideas and thoughts if anybody's got anything on that. And you can shoot me an email or a text or whatever if you've got some ideas. Just really want to kind of get what you, any thoughts or anything. It's not like we have to spend the money next week. We just really want to make sure that we know it's there in case there is a desire to do something with it. After myself and Director Helms talked yesterday, back in 2024, we adopted new bylaws, and one of the things in there was term limits for members, and we never officially assigned term limits to who was on what years and time to their 2-year terms. They can be reappointed by the executive committee if the executive committee sees fit. And so I just felt like we need to get on the record what terms, what years. And so I'd like to make a suggestion today that we do that, and would like the action of this committee, if it sees fit, to appoint. We currently have 7 members. Like I said, they were 2-year terms, and my thoughts were that myself, Travis Smith, and Ed Begovich terms would start 3 of 2025 and go through 3 of 2027. And then the balance 4 members of Billy Gibson, Jeff Burr, Sandy Rogers, and Joey Duggan start March of 2024 and go through 2026. And the reason we're talking March is because that was when the bylaws were approved. And so they would be reappointed every year in March, or they would be a group reappointed or changed every year in March. We would address it then. And so that's kind of my recommendation to the group, but be open to any comments, suggestions, or a motion to approve if that y'all see fit. And that's all I have for my report, unless anybody has any questions.
Do they have to make a motion to approve, or does it have to just be documented in the minutes? I think it's just.
It says, our bylaw says approved by the executive committee, is what the bylaw says. I would think you would need a motion in a second vote.
In your group, talk about that, everybody's kind of happy with what you proposed?
We have not talked about it.
Okay.
Chief Giano and I talked about it, and I think that it falls into some of that conversation we've been having about appointments and trying to get people on the board and get fresh ideas. It doesn't mean you have to replace them when the term's up. If they're doing a good job, you want to keep them on, you just rotate them right back on. And that gives you that option in their particular bylaws.
It's 2-year terms.
It is, yes.
Thoughts from the group? Good, bad? I know we've talked about that across the board, all the committees. I don't want to say we've had that deep discussion, but we have talked about what does the bylaws look like? Do we need to look at doing that for several committees or things like that?
With the 7-committee group, I mean, I think it's good that you have that option of replacing them, or if they are doing a good job, you can keep them.
Well, it gives a good break point too, because a lot of people will commit to the work, but then when they get an end of term, it gives them a good break spot too. Which is respectful both ways. Sorry.
Do you think, so you said 7, you're doing, 2 are starting this year, and then 5?
3 and 4.
3 and 4 is
4 this year, 3 the next year.
Is that enough, if for some reason, if you replace the 3 all at one time and then the 4 at one time, you know, having just those 2, do you think that would hurt your board?
My thoughts were, it's a 2-year term, so you've got over, and to split it up, so you don't replace them all in 1 year, you gotta split them up with a 7-member board, is what the bylaw says. 7 is the only way I saw the way to split it up is 3 and 4.
Versus like doing 2, 2, 2,
But you could do that with a
2,
2-year
2,
term.
3, or, you know.
With a 2-year term, I don't know if you could do that.
You can, it's just they're asynchronous. You could.
No, if it's a 2-year term.
You
You'd
got
have to go to a 3-year term. And do
And our bylaws currently say a 2-year term.
So
You'd have
you've
to
already
set
got-
somebody to expire like next year,
Yeah.
you know, it counts their current time, and if you set them to expire next year, then you get them on.
You would,
I'm not against the 4 and 3, I just looking at if for some
You could
reason
do
you were
2,
to
2, 3.
replace, if it would hurt versus doing like 2, 2,
2, 2, 3.
2, 2, 3.
So what happens if you get early departure? If they're based off a term and you're trying to stay in synchronous with the
You-
terms, you're seating them
you
for a
have to-
short period.
you'd have to seat somebody for that short period of time to fill it out.
Does the bylaws support that?
I think it does say that. I did go back and dig and look at it, but I think it does.
And then typically what you see, they would just
The
continue to
bylaws,
fill
the bylaws really,
for a
correct
whole
me if I'm
term.
wrong, it just said 2-year term. It didn't have anything to do with the rotation, how to rotate it. But,
The only thing it said was, is not, that they would all not
rotate off at the same
rotate
time.
at the same time.
So really all you do is just formalizing what's already in the bylaws by attaching a name and a date.
Yes, sir.
Right, description.
And the other thing too, now, you point that, so if it got to where you had somebody that stepped away and it wasn't their time yet, and it looked uneven, you could always say, I want to reappoint 1 or 2 of those people back to keep that consistency. That's your protection to make sure you don't lose consistency, is this board has the ability to reappoint. I think that's it. Yes.
Hearing it like that, I don't think there's a whole lot of change other than just identifying and formalizing.
Just my thoughts, you have some people on that committee that if they had an out, I think they would take that out. And so I think there's a benefit for having somebody come in and say, hey, look, your appointment's coming up in March, are you still interested? Well, no, you might want to find somebody else. Oh, no, I am. And I think you're going to see it both ways. Because right now, that was why we put it in the bylaws. The reason why, right now, before that change, they were on it until.
Really, till they say I'm out.
Right.
Yeah.
I support it. Only thing is, do we need to look at a 3-year, or are everybody good with the 2? That'd be my only question.
That would consist of us doing a bylaw change, and I'm not against that, I'm just, if that's the will of the group.
I mean, I say, I mean, if the group feels like the 4 and the 3 isn't gonna, you know, mess up the cohesiveness of that, I'm okay with that.
done for the last 60 sessions they've hosted. They're helping us to create the first fire and EMS PCAS program that we can figure out anywhere in the United States. That will be in November, and a lot of her team members, as well as myself, have been participating in some of the SE Leaps programs to learn the ins and outs for our November 9th through 12th PCAS in North Myrtle Beach, as well as having, I guess, selected a medical director, clinicians, and SE Leap members to attend during the November event to help us have a successful PCAS event. It is a incredible program, and she encourages any of you that think you have someone in your department that could use the next step and using PCAS to help them go through the next levels of their healing, to please reach out to her, and there's more details to come on that. Mile in Our Boots 2026, that's going to be April 16th through 18th. And thanks to Collin County for hosting that again. I believe we're trying to also make that an executive committee meeting during a day during that week. She's working on the education credits for that. Peer Connect, we have until the end of December 2026. That is being paid for by that team. They picked up the remaining funding for that. To also let you know, South Carolina EMS Association is no longer going to use Peer Connect. They're going their own way with their own app called KillMine. And they're actually trying to ask members of SE Fast to participate in that new program to offer their support. But while we're committed with Peer Connect, we're going to continue to stay there. Responses have been just large amount, as you can imagine, through May and July. 15 or 16 different incidents in different counties where they've been going back to multiple times to ensure that assistance to those departments. Jeff Oswald is, as we pointed out earlier, they had the July 10th in Barnwell County with 47 attendees, 7 counties participating. Right now for the Pickens August 7th meeting, we have 50 registrants, and working on a new class for Lancaster County for November. Obviously, if you've got any interest in hosting a class, please reach out to Jeff Oswald. Lastly, Jeff Allen has been busy preaching the word of the association. This week especially, he was in Greenwood Money for the Greenwood Fire Chiefs meeting. Today he's in Greenville Fire Chiefs meeting. In mid-August, well, I guess August 6th, he's in Spartanburg for their Fire Chiefs meeting. And the same day, that evening, he's in Orangeburg for their meeting. So he is sharing all the information about the association and the current events going on for that. That is report from staff. I do have one inquiry. We have 2 openings still left on committee lists. One for member benefits, as well as one for Mercy Management. Do we have any recommendations for those fields yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Okay. We have the current list based off of what we have is posted on the website. That is just the department or the person's name, the individual serving on the committee, not their email address or phone number, because we've been down that road before. So we just share that, who they're with and what committee and their name. That's on the website. And I believe that's it. I'm sure there's some other things that the executive director will share. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Zarina?
Okay, I know Rick went over most of everything, but 2 things. I wanted to mention that as we are reaching October 1, we will have a changeover in our board as well. Scott Garrett will be rolling off of our term limits, and Dan Conley from Bluffton Township will be rolling on. So we're excited to have him. He'll actually start hopefully at our September budget meeting, and will be from there serving out his terms. The only other thing is, this is the time of year that I do all the reviews with all of our carriers and suggestions on how to move forward. One of the biggest things, I'm just talking to you now as fire chiefs, fire administrators, everybody, to see how important putting in your data is. We really are having problems on the cancer eligibility side with dates that are put in the portal. So I can't stress enough, and we stress this all over the state when we go, that we are literally having people not eligible because inaccurate data. So we make it eligible based on the data being put in the fire portal. So their dates of hire, their dates when they're terminated. What does save us is sometimes I think we push so hard on our side that the data going in that we have been able to save some because they have accepted some of the data that we have. But departments don't have a lot of information, especially on the volunteer side. It is harder to keep those minutes on when people come and go. But there's a lot of, all that we are seeing is, you're just picking 1/1/25. Well, it really comes down to days. So if somebody is in with a close window and you put 1/1/25 the start date, and they got diagnosed on the 5th of the month, and they're down to that month, they're not eligible because you missed it by 5 days. And so, I can't stress enough how important that is. So that's my biggest takeaway, is if you can pass that along to your neighboring departments, and just if it comes up in conversation, that it's important. So, but that's my report.
Thank you so much. Ashley?
Okay, the team has been super busy this month as well, just as everybody else is. A couple things that Carter did not touch on earlier is he has been working on a document for Clover for their 100-year anniversary. He has 40 pages so far, so wow. He's been doing a lot of research. He's also been working with the Kershaw Fire Department on their history as well. And then he has attended many different events, from funerals to open houses to different things. So he's been very busy. Greenwood Fire Department also has donated some vintage prints for hopefully going for our museum collection. So we're excited about that. Ms. Kim Bowman's been super busy. On June 30th, Milliman dropped the statements. So everything's been going smoothly so far, knock on wood. And she's also completed her scan boxes, which is very exciting for her. Rick's report was kind of covered by Terry, Tion, and Joe. One thing I will mention is the quarterly meeting. Brian Marcos is going to be our guest speaker. It's October 22nd. It's going to be held in the Anderson area. We're buttoning up some details with the Civic Center there in Anderson, but we're excited to have them. So, very good stuff there. Chief Bolano's been busy with Leadership Institute. He met with the advisory committee. The Leadership Institute actually meets next Wednesday in North Augusta. They're extremely excited to host us, so we're looking forward to that as well. Leadership Institute application deadline is August 31st at 5 o'clock, so please help us spread the word. We know how this rolls. We've gotten a few apps, but the last day they'll all come pouring in, which is exciting for us. So. We will have a group that's going to be attending the North Carolina Safer Conference. They leave tomorrow and come back Friday. Those that are going know who's going. I do have your agendas printed if you would like to grab them from me before you leave today. And then we have a group that's going to FRI in Orlando next week, next Tuesday or Friday. So I have information for you guys as well, so see me before you leave. That'll be great. Emergency contact sheets. Come see me before you leave today. I either need your driver's license or I haven't got anything from you. So we'll get that squared away from you today. And then I think we're going to talk about a budget session maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all that I have for my team for this month.
Great. Thank you, Ashley.
Keep going, or is Tim here? Do we need a break, or-
Tim's not here yet, so he should be here soon.
We'll slide into the next one if you want.
Well, I'll leave it to you. Staff report.
Well, my staff reports don't really be old business stuff like that.
Okay.
They pretty much said about everything they could say for me. Other than I appreciate the staff I have, they do a very good job. So.
What was that?
Sometimes.
I think he said speak a little louder.
Sometimes.
Does that mean you're not gonna talk anymore?
If you don't want me to, I think I need to bring you up to speed on a couple of items.
All right, well, we will roll into old business then before we eat, and we'll go to a building update.
All right, there we go. Most of you I've already talked to, at least the elected. I've already let them know ahead of time. At our last meeting in July, we talked about trying to go back to the cellar and try to get a little bit of money for the roof and for the air conditioning unit. We were successful. We were able to work a deal out. They were going to give us at closing $375,000 back to cover partial of the roof and cover that air conditioning unit, if we so choose to replace or whatever we choose to do with it. To do that, we had to adjust the deal a little bit. Obviously, a seller wants to get their money as quick as possible or know they have a deal. So we shortened our inspection period, our due diligence period, to August the 1st. And the only thing that we could get out of between the time we signed that adjustment or addendum to the contract was if there was a title problem. But everything has come back fine. We're good to go. We're rolling forward. Closing is scheduled for August the 28th. So things are moving very, very rapidly. And we're happy for that. As Carter said, he's done a lot of work. We have other people that are doing a lot of work trying to get the fundraising aspect together. I'll go into a little more details on that here in a few minutes. But I just want to make sure everybody knows that we're excited, we're confident, and we're still moving forward with this. It's still going to be an all-in project for all of us. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Jason mentioned that we talked with the Finance and Audit Committee. We went through the loan options with them, gave them our recommendations based on the analysis that was done by Brian. So I'm going to let Brian, we'll put it on the screen, if Britt can get it pulled up there, the different parts of the loan. Brian, if you want to walk through and give them your thought process and kind of the conversations that we had that led us to the recommendation of what loan we should choose.
Well, instead of reading this whole thing I put up there, I'll just give you a quick synopsis on it. The bank gave us three options for our interest rate: 6.1%, 5.95%, 5.8%. Each of those rates comes with a different loan origination fee. The higher the interest rate, the less the loan origination fee. Long story short, when I did some analysis on the loan itself, we can do the 5.8%, which does have the highest origination fee. The origination fee is $27,000 something, I think.
$27,695.
Thanks, $27,695. So it's about a little over, right at $7,000 more than the 6.1% rate. The difference is that with the reduced payment option, you will actually get that money back in 11.1 months. So what we also looked at was something that the board had made statements of current board, prior boards, all that, when they looked at the building was, we paid this one off early, we want to pay the new one off early. So with that, I put in an option at the bottom that you see there too, add $1,837.61 to the mortgage payment every month. That makes it a nice flat, even $30,000 a month mortgage payment. When you do that, then you're going to actually reduce, Britt, you're going to drop down just a little bit. Over the 6.1% rate, it's going to save about $75,000 in interest over the 5-year period of the loan. It's going to save principal of about $144,000 because you're knocking out some of that interest. The 5.8% with the additional payment, you're going to pay an extra $17,296, and you're going to reduce your principal $127,000 over the life of the loan. And it's going to reduce your loan terms in total by 25 months. So one of the thought processes that we've had in the future, we cannot make more than twice the mortgage payment. If you make more than twice the mortgage payment every month, then there is a penalty that goes along with it. You can pay the loan off early, you just can't pay more than twice the mortgage payment. So what we thought about was that possibly in the future, once everything's said and done, if we have extra funds at the end of the year, we just increase that monthly payment as we go through this thing to try to see how quickly we can get it paid off, knock the principal down, save ourselves some interest. Long story short, the last option, 5.8%, $27,695 origination fee. We'll get that fee back in 11.1 months, and we're gonna save ourselves a potload of money in interest, and we're gonna save a little over 2 years of payments. That was the long story short.
I got a question.
Sure.
Scroll back up. Rick, the other way. I think it's a terminology. When
Oh,
you
it
say
is.
reduce the principal, I think you're meaning reduce the total cost of the loan. Because you can't reduce the principal. The principal's,
The $1,700 that we're gonna add extra,
I'm looking at this here, you just got reduced principal by $144,397.09 over 5 years.
I'm sorry, that should be reduced interest. You're correct.
Comparing the two interest rates.
Comparing the two interest rates, that should reduce
That's what I
our
said.
interest by 127 over the 25,
Reduce interest?
over the 5-year
What were
section.
you reading? The one above it. No, the one above it says reduce the principal. No, right there.
Okay. You think we're wrong, but am I just smart?
Nice try, Rick.
It was changed, see?
Interns?
What about the next one? I thought it was.
No, that's correct. The 144 over 5 years is correct on reduction of principal when you add the $1,800 extra dollars a month.
Because you're paying down the principal balance of the loan,
Principal
not the
balance
principal
of
of
the
the
loan,
loan.
yes.
Okay, I think it's a wording. I'm just.
Yeah, we had that same problem yesterday. Yeah, we will reduce the original principal of $3.9 million down by an additional 127 or whatever the number is we're looking at, 144 over 5 years. Because we're actually putting that much extra on it over a 5-year time frame.
Gotta put 7.
Say what you just said again. You're gonna reduce the 3.99 by 144,000?
Yes.
So they're gonna give you a discount on the amount of money?
No. We're gonna reduce our extra principal off our payments. Principal balance. Our principal balance
You said on.
will reduce.
It's a terminology, I think. Okay.
Are you good now, Chief?
I'm asking if there's a problem with the math you see.
I don't see a problem with math, I think it's terminology.
Terminology, okay.
I think I can help with this Pam thing.
Okay, so, with that being said, in that discussion, we'll fix the terminology if we need to, but this is the option that we got back from finance and audit to go forth with, and so, we're moving that direction unless we get something otherwise here. I would assume everybody kind of sees that pathway, but I'm open for any questions on that if we need to ask any questions of Brian Jones in the room.
One question, Brian, you said you can't make more than double the payment. So if you're making a 28,000, whatever it is, you can't make
27 twice, or 4,
2/3. Whatever that 50.
If it's $27,000 payment, I can't make any more than $54,000 payment a month.
A month. Okay.
Without penalty.
Without payment.
What's your penalty?
Pretty substantial.
Is it?
For the first 5 years, it is. For sure.
Even a lump sum.
Even a single lump sum can't
Yeah,
be with
if-
twice
if-
payment.
Even the banker even told us that if we got a bunch of money dumped in our lap, and we wanted to pay it off, for the first 5 years, I think it is, you gotta pay just that double payment. That's the only thing you can do. If you do it differently, you'll pay a major penalty on it. That's just commercial loans, is how it was explained to me.
And understand too that after 5 years, we will renegotiate our loan.
Right.
Yes. After 5 years, it goes back, we'll go back through it, depending on the interest rate we're locked into for that 5-year period. What did you just ask me, Jamie?
It's a 20-year term. So
20-year
after
term.
5 years, you could pay it off.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. You just can't do anything like that within 5 years. They gotta get their money back.
They gotta get their interest back.
Any other questions on that?
Besides.
Does anybody have any heartburn with going with that recommendation from the finance? I guess that should come from you, doesn't it?
Finance and Audit Committee recommended an option to move forward with to the executive.
How they feel about it all? Conversation's good?
All, yeah, they were excited, asked some good questions. Basically, some of them they cleared up in here, but there was no hesitation. They were all comfortable with it and thought we should move forward, excited about it.
And I don't think they had any negative reservation. I think one of the reservations, or one of the concerns was, the contingency of using your reserve money, which we knew we were gonna have to do that anyway. We kinda explained it, that kinda gave a couple of them a little hesitation of that reserve money not, or that contingency money not being there. But we explained about, trying to use money to get in the building faster so we can get this building sold and how all that's gonna transfer over. They're looking at it like us. It's an uphill battle. It's an uphill climb. It's doable. They just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. And that's how I took it. Jason took it a different way. No negative, anything like that. Ross was on the call. I don't think anybody heard anything negative over it, so.
Is your interest rate locked even after 5?
No, it's really.
It goes very
Yeah,
quickly.
I think it is.
That was one of the things I was questioning, was interest rates dropping next year, at the end of the year, 2 years from now. We're locked in for that first 5.
And the thing though is being with this, First Citizens, obviously we're a valued customer, we have so much money with them, they're gonna try to look and get us obviously the best rate they can. We'll talk a little bit more about fundraising here in a second, but I just wanna make sure that makes sense and everybody's good with that before we move on. Kevin?
Well, that's quick, and it might be at the top. That rate and that payment was based on how much down payment?
15% infusion, or equity infusion as they call it, is like 705,000. But 95 of that 705 is already in the escrow to be applied toward that. The check we'll get back, the 375 that we get back will come to, they've assured me it's coming back to us in a check. So that gives us 375,000 because we'd already based it on this dollar amount of not getting anything on the 4.7. So that comes back to us, gives us that 375 to implement into some of our renovation costs. Whether it's the roof, whether it's the air conditioning, whether it's whatever, we have that money secured back to use as we need to if we see fit.
I'm assuming they address their reserve contingency issue. That's only gonna be for short term, right?
The board moving and nothing doesn't happen, that's our plan. Our plan, Brian and I have been talking about it a lot, is to start finding a way that we can start pushing money back into we got money markets and swab accounts. The swab accounts are the money that we're gonna be using to get all this moving. The money markets are kind of like money that we pull from as we need to, for monthly costs and that kind of thing. All right.
Thoughts, questions? And that's coming from, form of a motion from your committee?
It came out of committee as a motion with all approved.
You just need a second.
It's just a motion out of committee, I just need y'all to accept it, or not accept it.
We need to vote.
Probably would just a call. Serena, we'll just put that as, voting to accept the motion out of committee. We'll call it, and the president can call it on.
Who's second?
It needs a
It needs a second.
It needs a second.
Got it.
Jason?
Yes.
Mike Norton? He's still on the
Chief
line.
Norton?
He's not. Come back to him. Kevin Henson?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Grady? Yes. Ben?
Yes.
Ryan? Yes. Terry?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
And Billy. Get Chief Norkett, is he with us?
He's on, but he's muted, and I sent him a text.
Okay,
You can just,
it passes. So
you can just mark him as absent. That's pretty bad. All right, thank y'all for that. Do we need to keep rolling, Ashley, or?
Yeah, they just got here, they gotta set it up.
Okay. All right, thank y'all for that. So what's our next steps? One thing we're gonna be doing this week, while you folks are kind of up in, the wonderful world of Raleigh, go a little further and you'll see Blue Country, which is great for you. But anyway, we're gonna start building out the communication piece for how we're gonna fundraise. One thing we've got scheduled is a meeting with our communications team. Carter has provided us with a lot of documentation of what we have so that we can try to figure out what sponsorships would look like, what kind of materials we need. Obviously, we're gonna do something when we walk and talk to people to leave with them. So we're gonna be working this week with our architect and our CMAR, our construction group, not making decisions on how the home's gonna look, but trying to get some sort of a picture of what we're looking to do so that we can say, hey, here's kind of what this is gonna look like as we go to try to raise money. When we get into design stuff, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. That's gonna be done by a different group. It's not gonna be just me and Rick and 2 or 3 people saying, we want this and we want that. So our goal is to get something right now that we can start using to go and get money. With, the caveat of here's our vision. And that's what we're gonna be working on this week. And we'll take some of that information, maybe get some sort of draft like renderings of how that, we talk about doorways for trucks to roll in, what would that look like? Can they give us something that we can tangibly show people? All right. So that's going on this week. So one thing that we've been trying to do, and we're not ready to lock it down yet, but we want this group to be involved with who goes on these different roles and in these different areas. But we're looking at like a 4 kind of prong approach to this. One is going to be our funding group or our finance group. Those are the folks that are just going to kind of watch to make sure that we're staying in budgets and whatever we set for renovations, we're not getting outside the line and trying to make sure that they're just the eyes just clearly watching the finances. The second group is going to be a construction group. That's going to be the people that know that part of it, that can kind of help with the building part of it, the renovation part of it, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, that kind of stuff, and kind of help guide the whole group that direction. The third group is going to be the fundraising group. Not necessarily the people doing the fundraising, but the people that are helping build the plan and the ideas for us to fundraise. Who are those key people that we need to the table? That's the kind of things that we got to start thinking about sooner rather than later. One part I want to encourage everybody is, if you know somebody, somehow we've got to know who you're talking to and what you're doing. We've got to have a collection point for that. The last thing we want is for Ben to go talk to somebody, and it happens Ross knows somebody at the same place and goes talk to somebody different. Now we got 2 different. We got to make sure it's all coordinated. We've been advised, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but we've been advised to have one person as that collection point that kind of is like the head fundraiser, and he's coordinating these people as they go out, or that person does it. Ben may say, I want you to come see this person. And then that person goes down there and he goes in with them because he knows them or something like that. We've got to get that laid out, but that's going to be that group. So if you're already, like Carter's already, grant stuff and pushing information, we're grabbing that and make sure we're tracking that so we know where we've got all these requests at. Let's see. And then the last group is our communications team. Right now we've got Zach, Abby, and Brooke, and they're working hard. At that point, we'll have the keys and everything will be rolling. The groups that are coming in next week and the week after, we got accessibility to get the past presidents and the history group in if they want to look at it, and that kind of stuff. And then that's kind of the draft plan in our heads of how we need to do this. Now it's just laying it out and getting it fine-tuned, and we need y'all's input for that. There's a couple key past presidents that need to be tagged in. I mean, the first person I thought of when we started talking finance, and I'd like to pull into it was Ken Kerber. Because I think Ken was kind of the finance guru, wasn't he, Joe, when y'all built this building?
Yes, sir.
So it'd be great to pull him in and get his perspective on it. I think we talked a little bit about that. So we're looking for those names. If you know somebody that's, you know, a construction guy that would be a great fit, or gal that would be a great fit, please send them to us so that we can get their name on the board. All right, so just lastly, our position as a staff has not changed. My position has not changed. I am very confident we can do this. I'm even more confident now than I was in July when we met. We've had some friends that have come to the table and are like, don't worry, we can help you with that part of it. Don't worry, we can help you there. I was talking with Chief Milano. He's got 5 or 6, he said, I got 5 or 6 names right now we can drop to go talk to. That's the kind of things we want. I really feel we're going to be successful with this. I really feel we're going to see great product and great results. And we're going to have something that's going to be a legacy of this organization for the future. Well past us. I mean, this building will last us a long time. And so I'm very confident with that. So that's kind of where we're at with that. The last thing, unless there's questions, I'm opening up for questions. Any kind of questions on any of what I've talked about or anything that you would like to add to any of that, please let us know right now so that we can add that to our thought processes. Are y'all still confident? Are y'all still on?
Good work.
Good work. Stand right behind you.
Well, good work also with the negotiation for the reduction in fees that I didn't believe would happen, but y'all pulled it also. Congratulations.
375.
$375,000.
And just so everybody knows, the price that we talked about with the roof, you know, that $500,000 price we mentioned at Temple Baptist, that's putting a brand new roof all the way down to the metal.
Worst case scenario.
You know, worst case scenario. Even the contractors were like, it's not gonna be that bad. They kept giving us a quote of $225,000 to replace the roof, $225,000 to replace the roof. I kept pushing for, you know, $400,000. And finally, you know, I knew it wasn't gonna go anywhere, and I just said, look, give us the $225 and replace the air conditioning, we'll call it even at $375, and that's kind of how it happened. So, we did, they wanted to know we were gonna close. And so we told them we would cancel the rest of the due diligence, provided the title come back. They were all in at that point. They now know they got their money. I had a very hard time believing that they had $500,000 in expenses in that building. And I knew there was gonna be room to work, so they came back and we're all good. I mean, it was a 5 days straight of back and forth, but it was worth it in the end.
Well, you boil it down, it's a year's worth of payments. Any way you look at it.
Yep. I mean, we've got enough to do the patch part of the roof that they talk about. You can give us 10 years or 15 years if we want to do that. I'm not saying that's the direction we go. That's something the construction team needs to determine.
You buy a lot of buckets.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
All right, well, I think this takes care of our conversation on the building. We're on break for lunch, but I'm gonna ask Carter if he would bless the food before we partake.
Lord, we thank you for this group as always, getting together and brainstorming and leading our organization. And we just thank you for each one who participates. We thank you for the time together. And Lord, it's time to break and to break bread. We just ask that you would bless those who have prepared it, strengthen us as we partake of it, and Lord, guide us and keep us safe and well. Amen. Amen.
All right, we'll get started back. Thank you all for lunch. It was wonderful. We will pick up where we left off in old business for the conversation about new travel policy.
Yes, so after our meeting in July, excuse me, when we had the question asked by Chief Klein about how much we spend on travel, kind of made me want to come back and look at some things. You know, travel has always been spread in different places in our budget. So I wanted to come back and I wanted to provide this group a cost analysis of the old policy versus new policy, how much it would change, how much it would impact. And actually we were all kind of taken back a little bit when we started seeing the numbers come in as we started looking at it. We tried to estimate, give a good estimation, kind of conservative. But we came back and we wanted to try to move all of our travel into one GL for the new budget next year. Solely because that will give us the ability to see it better, track it better, more transparency to our membership. So as we started making those changes, we built a cost comparison sheet. And so we kind of, started looking at things from top to bottom. Our cost increase with the travel policy as written is about $50,000 a year. And it really caught me off guard. I didn't think it would be that much. If we used the old policy, if we used that policy for the events that we typically go to, we were spending right at about $126,000. With the new policy, it increased to 176, give or take a few dollars here and there. But 176 is as low as we could figure out how to get that down based on what that policy says. That's a $50,000 increase to the budget for travel. I think it needed to be brought to your attention so everybody knows. Our draft budget that we've already started, we still got other areas we've got to fine tune, so this is not set in stone. But we're showing a deficit of about $43,000. So I wanted to make sure that this is brought back to you. I'm not here to tell you to change anything. I just want you to be aware of it and give me direction so that we know where we need to start reducing to get us back into the black on the budget that we'll be presenting to you in September. I don't know how else to say it. I feel part of it is my responsibility and my fault for not doing a good cost analysis and giving you better advice last meeting. But we built the policy as we were asked to see what it would look like. And when we started running budget numbers, it's a major increase, and I want you guys to know that. I have talked with Jason about it. Pierce and I finally got a chance to talk about it a few minutes ago, so I could brief him on where we're at. I do think there's some things we can do to reduce that dollar amount. And I'll be more than happy to show you a draft of what we threw on the board, Rick. I don't know if you have that. I'll have to probably email it to you. But it's, we're sending more people. We're going to more events. And those events are always getting more and more and more, it seems like. But some of our costs are pretty substantial. Every time that we bring this group, this what we would call the SC firefighter group on the email, everybody that's represented here, a few others that aren't, you're looking at 30 hotel rooms per day that we stay somewhere that we bring this group. Just 29 to be exact. So that's a pretty huge increase, and we've got to figure out where we can control that and come and bring this all back into line a little bit better and still accomplish the expectation of the executive committee to have that camaraderie time and get this group together to be able to network and build off of. So that's kind of the whole thing that we've got. I'll hit some of the highlights. Let me see, Rick, do you have the...
You need to show the new version.
The projections. 1 second here, fellas, I'm sorry, I thought I sent it to him, I didn't. Let's see, travel. Ashley, do you have it with you? Or I have his numbers? There it is. Let me send it real quick.
Or you can share
You share, can you share from this?
Are you in Teams?
Let's see if I can. And we'll show you the cost comparison, and I'll give you an example. And I know the Chiefs Conference is important. That would be a $3,800 typical expense. It's going to like $13,000 to send this group to the Chiefs Conference. And Myrtle Beach is not a cheap place to stay. And as you keep looking at it, did you find it?
Well, I gotta log in to Teams.
So I'm not saying we need to back off of that. I just think we need to look at this and readjust. It's gotta be somewhere we're safe. There's other places we're gonna need to cut some money to without cutting services. We know that. We're gonna dial that back as well. But our goal is to try to keep that reserve being built by being in the black, not in the red. Obviously, I won't have a job if I come in here and try to present a budget that's already in the red. I would hope that would not be acceptable. So our goal is to try to balance all this out. And one of the areas that we did see a big increase is obviously in the travel policy. So I wanna throw that to you. Hopefully we can get it up and show you what we're looking at. Sitting on the front page, it had my name on it. So while he brings this up, that's kind of what I wanted to bring back to your attention. I did tell Jason about it the other day. I tried to connect and we didn't get a chance to because of your schedule, my schedule, crazy busy. But I want some advice or some guidance of what y'all kind of want us to do or what you want to expect. And I think if you see it,
You're gonna have to email it to me. You're not logged in and it won't let you log in.
While we're doing that, I do have a question. When we figure for travel and meals and things like that, how do we typically do that?
Typically off the GSA rate.
So that's what you use?
Yeah, we use that. Now, sometimes we know we may build in a couple extra dollars just because we know, for instance, our fall quarterly meeting. We invite the local fire service to come have a meal with us on one night. So we don't know how many people that is, so we usually just, throw in a few extra dollars. It's kind of a dark thing because you don't know how many.
I think one thing that's changed that I missed or I guess didn't expect is some of the stuff, like I always use fire service improvement as the one that comes to mind first. I didn't think we changed any of that, but this figure you're gonna see shows all this group being there for all 4 days of that conference. My thought was still to keep it at 2. I don't know what that saves, it's probably $10,000 or $12,000 to cut those 2 nights off, but there was some stuff like that that it added that I didn't expect it to, that maybe we can go back and tweak and adjust before we really dive in or get your group to look at it. I think there's a couple of things that weren't intended changes that are included here, just in my opinion, when we looked at it a minute ago. And I could see $15,000, $20,000 easy to pull off of there.
And over the last couple of years, we've had a quarterly meeting. We may bring this group in earlier because we had some things we really needed to talk about. Like last year at Fire Service Improvement, we all wanted to sit down and get together and talk about communication, how we would communicate with each other. Every time we bring this group together, that's 29 rooms. So that 200 to 250 minimum is what we're going to see with taxes and all. But this document here is kind of a comparison of the old policy versus new policy. And don't focus too much on how we added all this up, but because my brain's a little different than Ashley's, but no change to CFS5. We spend roughly $22,600 to go to DC. A question would be, do we really need to continue to take the whole group? We need to cull that down some. I don't know. I'm leaving that to you. In Triple F, we added one person to that list and what we would normally add. You know, it's important to be at these events, especially with us doing the fundraising that we're doing, because a lot of the people that we've had some commitments from are the people that we see at these events and that we talk to at these events and have built relationships over the years. So it's a slight increase because we added one individual. FDIC, I mean, we're talking roughly $500 a night for hotel rooms in that place, and you guys know that because y'all go there too with your own department. We added one to try to get rotation started. Obviously, this year we're saving a little bit of money for FRI because they're driving instead of flying, because you're going to Orlando, you know, 6-hour ride versus paying all that money for flights. But when you compare your policy, you can see the increase is basically because we're adding the extra people. VCOS is one that we've only really been to. Last year, I think we took two people from staff, and then Rick went under his travel part of his budget just to gauge it, to see if it's something that we need to be involved in, which it is a really good conference, especially when we're trying to attract information and stuff for our small combination departments or our volunteer departments.
That's where we found Sarah at.
Yeah, that's where we found Sarah Janke at last year, and really wanted to bring her on board with us for a conference this year. But we drove, instead of fly, you know, that's about a $1,800 or $1,200 savings on driving versus flying. Fire Fusion, we really only went down there for a day trip last year, and actually sent Ashley down there. We made her the guinea pig to go test it out. And we had a lot of other stuff going on, but that's a drivable trip for us, for staff. But if we were going to, you know, provide hotel rooms, we're in Charleston 3 days, that's not cheap. Safer, we added 3, but I think one of those might have been a staff member. I think that would probably cut down to 2. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Ashley. But, you know, $3,000 increase based on policy. This one is the one that is a big one, and I know it's important to be there and make sure we're there, but we're going from $3,800 to $13,600. That's pretty substantial. EMS, I think under the old policy, we would send Kevin typically. Is that right, Kevin? We'll send you. That's not really a change. Typically for something like that, Ashley and I would probably ride down, or one of us would ride down to just be there for the open ceremonies. That way we're, you know, talking with their leadership and let them know what's going on. This one here, fire service improvement, Pierce kind of alluded to it about the hotel nights are really the big issue there. We got a thing over to the side we've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 years of trying to pull off the tri-conference, you know, the Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina kind of get together, a strategic plan, prepare for going to DC and some of that kind of stuff. That's about $12 grand. That's not figured into this. Ballpark for us, it would be in Charleston in January. It's going to be probably $12,000 roughly if we send our whole group that we would typically, our elected body, or our voting body there. I put it out to the side because if we were to reduce the fire service improvement, it really doesn't net us a savings, but that would be where I could find that funding to go if we did a tri-state thing. Does that make sense? And then our fall budget, one thing I want to tell you about quarterlies is we, in the last couple of years, have had an executive committee meeting like the night before some of these quarterlies. We still do, at our quarterly meeting, we still do committee reports and things like that. We can meet the expectation of our meeting and getting our membership that quarterly information, and maybe not necessarily have to do an EC meeting the night before, or we could come in that morning and do one, maybe a quick one if we had to. If we don't have a whole lot to talk about, it's probably wise to try to cull that back a little bit. Not trying to take away your time together, I'm just saying that might be an option if you want to consider that. But your quarterly meetings or your your fire service improvement in January, your legislative, which typically is in March or April, and then your fire rescue conference in the middle of the year in June, and then our quarterly is usually in October that we'll do and try to move it around the state if we can. Which, you know, that's kind of what that is. We don't do a executive committee meeting at fire rescue, and we don't really, other than last year, we really don't do an executive committee meeting, you know, formal meeting at fire service improvement. So maybe we dial it back on the quarterly, I don't know, I'm just FYI, we do normally reports as part of our normal business meeting side of things. Does that make sense? Not like get around this type of table. Spring strategic planning, we talked a little bit about that earlier. You know, with what Billingham's already got going, is that where we dial back on the number of people that go and the need of all the, last year, you remember we had SC Faster because we needed to get them into the strategic plan and hear their point. OSHA was there, you know, we had just about everybody there just to be able to do it, and that was a pretty high cost last year. If we continue that path, this is kind of the dollar amount you're looking at seeing. Do we dial that back? And then fall quarterly, I can't remember why that EC expense is highlighted there, but I think we pulled 8,000 of that out of the EC line item or something last year. That's kind of what you see. $50,000 increase. Our draft budget, like I told you earlier, we're about 49,000 in the hole. That we're cutting, you know, it's not unusual. We start working numbers and get them back in line. But right now, our draft, we're about 49 in the hole. So with that new policy in play.
I'll see a couple of things. The rest of the group tell me if they're following me on this. One, like Pierce mentioned at the improvement conference. I mean, unless President Wilmette wants us to get together that day before, that day of, we typically are kind of busy around Friday night in the round table and Saturday morning for classes, but after that, I mean, we could probably take that back to 1 or 2 nights. I mean, honestly, unless he has something else that he wants us to meet for. The CFSI, the only concern I have about that is the few times I've been to that, once with the Leadership Institute a long time ago, 2011. But we typically split up when we're up there. And we have had to split up into 3 groups, but typically 2. If there's 5 of us and 2 from staff, that's not that many. I don't know if I would change that, just because if we have to split into groups of 3 to meet with people, I don't know if I would change much about the CFSI trip. For the Fire Chiefs Conference, I guess my question would be, do we all need to go to that one? I mean, I think it's good for our board to intermingle with their board, so I don't know if that's something we want to take the will or not. But these are just some thoughts that were going through my mind. The reason I asked the question about the meals is because I was thinking that we probably use the government rates, but I can assure you that we don't always order according to government rates. And that's
Going to a per diem type?
Yeah, like a per diem type thing. If you want something extra, that's on you. I'm just thinking of ways we can make this thing work. Obviously, you know, everybody may not agree with me, and that's okay. But it's just some things that I saw as we were going through the list where I seen several thousands of dollars that could be saved pretty easily without making a whole lot of change. I mean, we do it per diem for conference. Hey, somebody else throw something out there. I'm just, I don't want to be the only one to go down with a target.
I definitely think $50,000, I always not, last month when we were talking about this, never in my mind where I thought that the changes we made would have done $50,000 increase to the budget. I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow there. You know, anytime you see, because obviously one of the biggest changes from that policy, from the old to the new, is what's sending, for the majority of the conferences, sending 1 more elected and then 1 more voting. And everyone that's got that on there, the price is almost doubled but just adding those two people.
I mean, these places are expensive. I mean, it's just crazy expensive.
I think, I'll start with improvement I think our own conferences that are association-based should get a priority if we're prioritizing things. I know this is my third year, my 2 years on the board, there's been quite a few people at the improvement, so that, I'm surprised that old number was so low on the improvement conference. It was like $2,700 or $29.
Well, I think it's because we didn't really bring a whole lot of night, it was like one night maybe.
One night.
Friday night.
Yeah.
We would bring you in for Friday
Okay.
and you'd stay overnight for Friday night because it'd be a late night.
I think last year we.
I don't know that we need 4 nights. I personally like seeing the group there to support Terry and them, because I think that is starting to take them kind of a mind of its own. I mean, it's different in fire rescue, it's a different crowd. So I like us supporting that. I agree. I don't know that we need 4 nights.
And to piggyback with what you're saying, I agree, anything close, I like the big group there. Anything that has a pretty extensive travel to it, probably need to cut
Like a
that
flight.
a little. Now, me being a non-selfish person, I'll be more than happy, anything that flies, I would go.
Well, I think you gotta look at it as investment too. I mean, some of it is investment, it's really what you're saying. Is you have the opportunity to invest back, name, face, time, conversation.
Most of the.
But you have to control the number.
I agree with you. Being around that Friday and Saturday, intermingling with people and seeing at the classes and at the round table and everything, usually on that Thursday one, it's kind of, most people come in for that Friday. So I'm just sitting there thinking, you know, for me, I only live an hour away. Other people have to drive first, maybe different. I mean, honestly, I would.
This may be unpopular. I'm hopeful Fire Fusion is better. I was not blown away. I went to it last year. It was.
Well, that's a good point. Are there things we don't need to be at?
Yeah, that's just me. I don't want to be selfish. And also, I'm going to go to it because I can drive there. So it really don't affect me, but Matt was there. I mean, there were some good points. I think,
I would say that's one.
Verdict's out.
The president and executive director go to, that's it.
I would say for that one, regardless, we would drive down at least for a day or two and just show our face. I mean, actually, we'd probably go one day or I'd probably go the next day. At least have somebody to walk around with an association shirt on, just because it's in Charleston. And it is important to Chief Curria and the Charleston area, and we got to show them some love and that kind of stuff. You know, he worked pretty doggone hard trying to get them there, even though he didn't go the way he wanted to last year. So then we need to make sure that we're trying to show that support. But that's a drivable thing for us.
But it's also what Colin said too, is if we can find somebody locally, so you're not paying in travel, you're not paying in hotels. You pay registration.
And the policy, the way it was written, it was gonna be you two guys to go just so I could save a buck. But I do agree with you. That's one of those that we should be able to still participate in without having to be there.
So we're cutting.
Mr. President, one of the things I think is important for this, is when I first saw the proposed policy come out, just the historical perspective of it, if you would like to know. In 2008, when I first started, we had a great president. He was great, John Locke. When I started in 2008, our travel policy pretty much looked the one you adopted, the concept. We had a lot of travel with a lot of people. And at the time, we were pretty strapped for money. Let's just say we were broke, and we were trying to pay this building off. So it was decided somewhere around 2010, and I think it was, Tom, you'll be shocked with this, when Alvin was financing all of it or something like that, that we would cut way back. And so in somewhere around 2010, we took the list that you've got up here, which looks very close to the 2008 level, and trimmed it way back. The problem we did in 2010 is we didn't write it down. We didn't write down, we just said, look, we got to cut out a lot of this travel because we were spending, account for inflation. about the same amount of money that what you're proposing in this new one up here. But we knew we needed to save money, we felt like it was too high, we trimmed it way back. Then, I think it was when Malcolm was in one of the seats, we knew we had to write down something because every year they were kind of drifting just depending on things. And so the current policy in which you've got now operating was developed. So we went from a high, really trim low, and Malcolm's eased back out of that a little bit. I'm attributing that list to him.
Josh.
Was it Josh? Okay. It was in that couple of years range, so it went back to its level. So it's just interesting to me, you're kind of reverting back to a 2008 level. I don't know if it's good or bad. You need to be these places. You just gotta let your pocketbook be your guide. And in 2008, we realized we didn't have a pocketbook to be able to do that level, so we trimmed back. And it's gonna be a living, breathing thing because every year, something's gonna happen, you gotta have a bigger crowd in Washington. Or something's gonna happen, you gotta have a bigger crowd in Charleston, whatever the case may be. You gotta have some level of flexibility, but I don't have a vote, my 2 cents don't matter. You just signed a loan on a pretty dadgum big building. I just caution you, just please be careful. You gotta represent your members what you're doing frugally. Growing makes good sense. Just be careful that you're not going back to 2008 levels where we were before, and I think that's really what this is. Your decision, I stand by and support.
And I was actually blown away by what we would spend under the old policy. That kind of caught me off guard.
And back in the old days, when I first heard of the budget, we actually had all the travel in one year. The problem with the executive committees at that time, you couldn't really attribute, when somebody said, well, what does FDIC cost? You didn't know because it was hidden in 4 different places. Registration was over here, travel was over here, and fees were over here. So we said, no, we're going to put it all under one thing. We're going to group it under FDIC. So if somebody says, well, what did you spend on FDIC? Boom, there's the whole entire cost under that line. And so that's why that was done. Not good or bad. Neither one of those concepts are better than the other one. That's just why we did it that way. Was it CFSI? We're all under CFSI, that kind of thing. Just because you could get a true response, a quick response. Somebody say, hey, how much you guys spend on pick one? The fire fusion. And you could, boom, it's going to cost us $8,000 to do it. It was in one line. That's why we did that. And that was 10 years ago or something. We did that. That was why.
And our plan is to, if we move it back, which we're working through that now, but if we put it under one line item, there'll be subcategories that's going to show the breakdown of what that line item is. This much goes to this conference, this much goes to this program, or whatever we're doing with that. Because Joe and I talked about that yesterday, and I see where that's at. So my goal is to have it to where you can see a dollar amount immediately, how much we're spending against that dollar amount, and then if we want to break down each conference to determine the worth of our attendance, then we've got that broken down individually underneath that line. In that detail, we can pull that out and give that at any time to finance and auditor, anybody, for that matter. So that's kind of what we were thinking we were going to do. But there's other things, again, that we're working through the budget on that we want to reduce. But we're trying to get back to that good, solid, I'd love to see $40,000, $50,000 at least in the black, in reserve if we needed it for something, and we got it there. Because you don't know what's going to pop up. If we have, God forbid, a couple line of duty deaths and we need some funding, we want to make sure we got it there somewhere.
Refresh my memory, the old policy compared to the new one, I mean, as far as the conferences, both had the same.
Yeah, there's
one wasn't missing the other.
VCOS was not in the old policy. Maybe one more, keep scrolling.
Fire Fusion.
Fire Fusion was not in the old policy. I really think that's it, if I remember correctly. And if you remember, we only started, we went to FRI, I think, and took a break for a while and pulled it back in last year before last.
Excluding this, Tri-State.
And the Tri-State, thing is there, which I think is important, especially if we're gonna do it prior to going to DC and we're all on the same page as a Southeast group. It's great to be together and talk these things through and know who our partners are and on, both sides of the border. But, we tentatively started that process, but haven't locked everything down yet. you may talk more about that in North Carolina this week when y'all go up there, because I think they're already asking questions about how many's coming, who's coming, what we're doing. The goal is that would rotate. Now, I don't know if North Carolina is any cheaper than Charleston. Charleston's pretty expensive to get hotel rooms in, right? Especially, well, it's an off-season time, but it's gonna be a yearly thing if it goes forward.
Is that something we could rotate though? And
We would.
What I mean by that though is, like, we're going to the Safer Conference. I know that's not an ideal time, but if we could invite Georgia to that, or then invite Georgia, North Carolina, our conference. I mean, I don't know if that's too early in the year probably, but if you incorporate them into something like that, it might be a little less.
It's kind of hard, especially I guess for North Carolina, and maybe really for us too, is to try to pull something like that in the middle of our week down there. I mean, we're all wide open. I mean, Terry stays from one end of that conference center to the other in his committee, so
Never sits down.
it might be difficult to get everybody in the room together. No, I don't know, I'm not saying no to that, I
I'm just saying, I was just sitting there thinking if we could incorporate it into something else, would it be as expensive?
well, if you're already there, I would say no, but, I'm not opposed to that. They used to get together a lot, especially talking benefits and health and safety type stuff, from what I understand. It was a pretty popular thing back.
Legislatively, it does help every once in a while to be with them.
And we typically are sitting, if we go to that dinner, we're sitting somewhere close to them at the dinner if we go to that.
And in the past, we have rotated, because I know Concord area, I think, in 2005.
They hosted it, yeah.
Yeah, they hosted. We hosted in Greenville. They hosted in maybe Concord area again.
Yeah.
Georgia's still up in there. We don't know if they're able to do it. They're a little different than both of us. I mean, we're a little closer to North Carolina as far as how we're set up versus Georgia.
Georgia came last time, they were there.
Green.
Yeah.
I think we got enough people between staff and those in the Charleston area that we can make a good presence at Fire Fusion without having to have that there.
And I'm really looking for some guidance on this part. Do we need to change it or not change it? If we're going to change it, get some ideas, because we've got about, maybe, I think, what, 2 weeks, and we're going to meet with finance and all that. We're going to have 2 weeks.
The week of the 18th, it's not on the 18th, I think that's their meeting, it's that week, 20th maybe?
Roughly 2 weeks.
I got it on my calendar.
So we want to get this locked down so we can present and be ready for September for you guys.
And I think we can tweak that. A lot of this policy stuff doesn't mention number of nights and stuff like that, so I think that's something we can just talk through with finance and audit. Get Fire Fusion and some of those down a little bit.
We haven't presented this to finance and audit. No, this is just, y'all are the only ones that have seen this. We'll present them the budget, obviously, next week after next.
Do you have,
I'd like to have this in some sort of check before I go talk to them.
See if can you email this to us? I know the group that travels tomorrow, this is something we can, those of us that'll be around the next couple of days can call in.
Rick will send it out to the group.
Just for number wise, do you have like the difference? Let's just say we take sending those 2 extra people out. How much that would? I mean, it may not make enough difference to even go that route.
Yeah, where you'll see like, I mean, we can easily build that back in, but like I said, the spreadsheet that you see here, the information you see here, it took me a while to figure it out too. Because everybody tracks numbers differently in their brain. But like, it's, where you see times 3, you use times 1. I mean, we can go back and rebuild it that way if you want us to. But really, I think, when you look at it, it's really the whole policy with the exception of adding a couple people. Obviously, we changed, from time to time, we'll add another night here, 2 nights there. Fire service improvement, we want to meet the day, before everybody gets there, so therefore we got you there the whole time. I think it'd be stupid for you to come in and leave and have to come back on Friday. That's kind of why we did it that way last year, and I think the year maybe before that too. I can't remember. But it's really not a lot different than the old policy, other than putting the rotation in of, you know, elected and the voting.
But even the old policy, I mean, the old policy allows for that to happen, and it allows the president.
Based on budget,
Yeah,
and conversation,
sure.
yes. And again, this hasn't been a problem because we've had the reserves that we've had, so the budget's always money there, but we're purchasing the building and doing a lot of other things too. We've got a computer migration going on as well. The building is really the cause of the deficit. I mean, it's part of the whole budget as a whole. This is just where we saw the biggest change, and we want to make sure y'all are aware of it. Mr. President, that's really all I had, unless y'all want to start working on trying to bring it down or whatever. If you want to take more time to review it and adjust it, then you can. And we literally worked on this until late last night, trying to dial it down as close as we could.
Yeah, we'll review that in the next couple of days, and I'll get with you, like, we'll try to cull it down a little bit. That way we don't take up everybody's time.
Do we, and just, again, just thinking out loud, I mean, do we want, is it worth going back to the old policy and then working on this, or keep it how it is? And then making amendments to
New
it?
one doesn't take effect until October, right?
It's for next budget, but I'm building the budget, that's why I need it.
And
It's not gonna impact anything you got September, or August and September this year.
Besides adding the extra people, I mean, everything up there, the hotel, the flight, the food, everything's just off the rails right now as far as cost. So it'd be interesting to see what we budgeted the last few years, how close we were to going over budget.
Well, we did that. We ran a cost comparison of what you did over the last 5 years, and it was probably close to about, the high was like maybe 110. And that was, it wasn't last year, it was the year before, but I think we had something that caused us not, the hurricane may have messed us up on something.
You didn't go to Sacred Conference.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of those types of things that fell in line. But the low has been like 75 over the last 5 years. I think the high, other than the projected here, was like 112 or 13 maybe. I'd have to pull that up in my email and look for it, but.
Right, and I think it was said is where you're going is expensive anyway. And then most of them are municipalities that are adding on the bed taxes and different things, fees that you may not be aware of, but like you said, you had the cushion in the old policy to kind of
Yeah, I think our hotel rooms,
supplement that.
I think our hotel rooms in Anderson are like 150, 159. By the time it's over, it's 204.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's just how it goes.
Right.
But Rick has sent that to everybody, so you should have it in your email to be able to look at and talk about. If you don't have it, let us know, make sure we got the right email address. I think everybody's been confirmed multiple times, so it should be good. That's all I had, sir.
Okay. We can play over that in the next couple of days, and I'll get with you and kind of, we'll go ahead and at least make first pass at it.
Okay.
All right, we will roll into new business. So right now, I only have one thing, but Crosby, I'll go to you for the Stop the Bleed kit proposal.
So I think, send it out, so everybody's got it. Basically, we're looking for any feedback on it. We feel like we've got a decent proposal. We'd like to get approval to move forward with going back to the EMS Association to go to the Healthcare Coalition to apply for the funding aspect of it. And we talked about, is the foundation going to do reimbursement through that or not? That's the one piece I think we're still lacking on our side of the committee as far as the proposal.
Some funding,
Yeah, so it's a reimbursement grant. So I think we talked in one of the prior meetings, was the foundation gonna cover the initial and then apply for reimbursement through Healthcare Coalition? Or are we gonna go through the EMS Association?
I think we had discussed the foundation.
What are we talking cost?
So total cost is $50,409.99 right now. The initial would be $30,161. And then the replacement kits are the $20,248. The total all in is basically $50,410. And then that would be providing kits to trained agencies that are non-DPH or DPH licensed agencies throughout the year. So we would go basically individually, we would go regional, you know, if we set up booths or whatever, our fire service improvement or fire rescue, there's a multitude of opportunities to deliver that education.
I don't see why we can't. That's speaking as one of 7. I mean, I can definitely bring it up to you, I don't know why we couldn't, as long as the grant's awarded. I think that would be fine. Do we know the requirements of the grant as far as what they're gonna ask us? I mean, I'd love to see the grant application, see what the requirements are, if possible, just so I can explain to the committee and make sure they're good with it. I don't know if y'all got the application or the.
Yeah, I can get with Henry Lewis, because he's going to do it through the Healthcare Coalition. We feel pretty confident that they'll approve it. But I can get you stuff to them.
Yeah, get it, if you get it by Tuesday, it'd be great, because we're gonna try to meet Tuesday afternoon, that would be wonderful. From my side, I don't see a problem, as long as there's not any kind of crazy requirements.
there's not, it's a very, very simple grant. It's one of the easiest ones I think I've ever dealt with. Normally, you apply, it goes in front of their board, and then once they do the award letter, you just spend it and then send them the receipt, like the check and copy of the check, you know, things like that. And usually it's 4 to 6 months at the latest you got your money back, you know. So I'd say 6 months is probably a stretch. Usually they reimburse within 90 days or so.
But you know you've got the grant before you.
Yeah, you'll get an award letter, you'll go through the process, you'll get an award letter and all that stuff before you ever spend anything. So you'll get a notice of funding.
I'm just not familiar with it, so.
They just don't front you the money, they give you the notice of funding, you spend the money, and then they pay you back. So it's just whatever time it takes to do all the transactions.
We dealt with that.
We could do it either way. Like, we could do it as plan A, plan B. Like, we could do it where just everything's purchased on one go and the 50 grand's done, and go ahead and submit for reimbursement, or we can break it into the 30,000 and the 20,000.
What was that grant? We've dealt with them before, because Jason, Chief Cruiser.
But essentially, you're looking at,
Healthcare Coalition.
it's a motion coming out of committee, right?
We're looking to proceed forward,
To apply for the grant.
to apply for the grant.
Which this group could vote on the motion coming out of committee to apply for the grant, even if you still need time to talk to.
Like I said, I don't know about Tuesday.
So a fire department will only get the supply kits if they complete training?
Yeah, so we'll do a trainer per organization, and then we will give them the kits for their, front line. Non-DHEC only. So DPH licensed departments are already carrying everything that are in the kits for the most part. And then they will be a replacement kit and then a trainer tourniquet that they can take back in and do training for their organization. The ask, obviously, we can't put it on paper, but the ask would be that you would continue to carry said equipment once its replenishment kit's gone, whatever else moving forward to kind of be up with the times. North American Rescue has agreed to do basically like a code or whatever for the fire service, where it's a discounted replacement cost once everything's done moving forward.
And how about,
Go ahead, Chief.
what about expirations on the kits or anything?
expirations, once the replenishment kit's done, it's kind of your, whether you follow the request to keep the material up at that point in time. It hasn't been discussed, do we do this as a recurring, moving forward, be something we could take back in the committee. Everything that I think that started with when you was in there was basically just getting the initial distribution stuff out. And then we since broke that down to set up complete fire service, take it to non-DPH licensed departments that don't potentially carry that equipment now, which afforded us the ability to have a restock kit, basically one per truck once you've exhausted that restock. The EMS Association is going to, in part of this partnership, request that other EMS agencies out there, do they allow restock? If I use the tourniquet, if I use whatever, would they be allowing to one-on-one swap back out? Obviously, that's just a request, can't guarantee. But there's a lot out there that doesn't do that currently.
Can we have one per department or one per truck?
So one for frontline apparatus.
For every frontline
So
apparatus?
that was the initial that they put out there. But that's the non-DPH side of it.
So this is inaccurate.
No, he talks about DPA, but, because I misunderstood, I thought it was one per department. I know, I mean, it makes more sense to be one per truck.
Yeah,
But I was confused when I read the document, it says right there one per department.
No, that's departments.
There's about
470.
what?
470 total
470
departments.
total departments, yeah.
But that's licensed and non-licensed, right?
That's just total.
That's total departments.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
Yes.
if you look at frontline trucks, I have 3 frontline trucks, 1 department.
Well, look at Horry County.
Yeah.
Or county.
When you say licensed, you're talking about.
32.
They're already operating EMT or higher.
Station, not frontline.
This would be first responder or,
It's a Columbia.
5 frontlines.
What, say that again?
so this would be like first responder level down, not
Okay, so you're
not
talking-
EMTs.
So you would be, you're saying frontline,
And that's not like every apparatus in the base, right?
well, I would like to know how they're defining frontline truck. I mean, and I'm gonna use Columbia as an example, but Columbia, they got 32 engines.
Yeah.
And they're a first responder agency, so they got 32 engines plus ladders, and they got even, they'd probably try to tell you they got tankers that are frontline trucks. That's just a question they need to clarify. What I want to make sure of from our standpoint is what our responsibility is as far as, do we have to have any kind of support to get it out? I mean, obviously communication is one thing. And our other question was, for us is, we spend a lot of time with that cancer bucket project, and we go to some of these stations and we see the bucket stuck out in the middle of nowhere in the back corner back there. I don't want it to be a waste either. If your department's not gonna put it on your truck and use it, there's other departments that will.
I think that's why the key piece to that is they have to attend the training.
Yes.
If
If
they
they
don't
don't,
do that, they
they
have to
train.
put a step forward and get it. The cancer thing, we just, heck, every
We
time I
just
county, we
distribute
had to beg them to come pick the bucket up from my station.
Okay, so only the trainer that you're training the trainer has to be there.
Yes, so
Okay.
somebody from each organization, whether or not we go to that department or not, because North American Rescue is going to assist in the training process with us. And then we're going to reach out to the Fire Academy as well to see if they're going to be part. But we will either go to said department, or whether or not it's fire service improvement, fire rescue, or a quarterly, something like that. At least one member from each department that's going to participate in it will go through a training with us on how to use the tourniquets, how to use everything into that. They'll get a training tourniquet and their kit to go back, or their kits to go back to their organization with the expectation they're going to train their department at that point in time.
Does the focus start on volunteer departments?
There's no focus on where we start other than just DPH agencies. And we're going to have multitude of training opportunities, whether it's county by county or if we're going to go into more of a regional.
I was kind of going what Brick said a minute, but if Columbia Fire is not a BLS or a licensed agency, they'll get all 390 of your kids.
Right.
If Columbia is not a DPH agency,
I'll
they'll get all 150
I'll clarify with that
or
person
200
and I'll
kids.
email it. I'll get it back to you.
Where's storage kept of the replenished kits?
I would assume that would be kept with the EMS Association.
So
We don't
there's two models that we're kind of exploring, right? So we do everything in one purchase. NAR has agreed to warehouse everything and then give us the ability to, with their code, to go pick them up one by one and get them distributed out to them from there. Or like we can house them either here or with the EMS Association. It's not gonna be a huge, I guess, 390 of them's not, they're tiny kids.
You got a big building, put them in.
That's what I said, we,
They're literally,
come to 28th, we got plenty of storage there.
one kid's like this, and about that wide.
Okay.
Like, it's not huge. They're like vacuum sealed.
Oh, so it's gonna be like the public ones. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be the red.
No, it's gonna be a little, like a plastic vacuum sealed shrink wrap. It's got a tourniquet, wing pack stuff, pressure dressing, and they'll have like the updated label that has the association, foundation, EMS Association's logos on, that goes out from there.
I think we can vote on applying for the grant and figure out.
Yeah, I'll get you the other part, whether it's one per department or one per, I'll clarify back with the subgroup there.
That makes
We've been
sense.
through a lot of iterations on that, sorry.
We're just voting on moving forward versus
Yeah,
all the details we have.
And to kind of give everybody some history on this, this was part of Malcolm's goals for the EMS committee at the time I was on the chair.
I thought it sounded familiar.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
a long time.
I'm trying to remember, and just, we had a discussion on whether it was going through us or the foundation. It seemed like because of the logo, but I can't pinpoint exactly. But we had a long conversation of who was ultimately gonna do it, and that's all I can remember.
Because it had the EMS Association logo and Fire Association logo on it, and when Jamie said that the foundation would pay for it, I made a recommendation to change the logo to the foundation logo.
Okay. Sounds right.
Which is really the same logo with just a rock.
Right.
This is coming out of committee. Does you need a second, right?
No.
We'll make sure we capture that, right?
I think that we can count that as discussion.
Yeah, I think so. So we're good on, we're just gotta figure out how many kits and what departments they're going to versus frontline.
I'll figure out if it's per department or per frontline apparatus.
Okay.
And then what frontline action?
But they're all going to DPH, so non-DPH.
This is recommendation.
All right.
And I just have to apply, the motion is to apply for the grant for Stop the Bleed Kit Program. Is that what you want me to call it, or is it?
Nope.
At a recommendation of the committee.
Yeah, well, yeah.
From committee. They're all in favor of it?
Yeah, I don't think we need to do roll call, but all in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Any other new business to discuss? All right, we'll go to the September playbook review.
All right. Advisory committee will be working to get their awards coming in. We need to make sure we're promoting that. Kevin, I guess we'll hear from you guys as to any kind of special way you want to promote. This is for your awards. Bylaws, keep doing what you're doing. I know you got a lot of stuff you're working through, as Charles said earlier. Let's see. Kevin, we'll get with you on We have our fall work session coming up, budget work session will be coming up tentatively in Jasper County. I guess are we gonna go yet, or you
Yeah,
still
we're
working?
good.
So we'll be in Jasper County the 17th through the 19th for budget workshop.
What was
Let's
the date?
see, Jason,
September 17th through the 19th.
Jason, we'll get ready to do your meeting in August, and that will make sure we got the budget locked down for that. We're also with our finance and audit, preparing for all of our, audit prep for Greenfield too, so we'll be kind of involved with that, Jason. Let's see, anything else major? We're preparing to get ready for our service improvement. I think most of that's already on the move. Foundation, continue your meetings, get your budget approved. Leadership Institute. We've got PSID weekend, I think it's PSID. I have never seen that before. PSID weekend, whatever that is, Chief Malone, you got PSID coming up. We'll find out what that's supposed to mean for you.
What do you see?
I'm looking at all dates.
Oh, well, they do meet in Charleston for the, I don't know what PS.
I'm not sure what that means. It's interesting, it's the first time I've ever seen that. Members benefits, have their meeting, National Fallen Firefighter will get prepared for that. That's gotten moved to, it's no longer in September, right? It's been moved to August, September travel from Firefighter Memorial, that's gotta change.
just
One thing that
changed.
we're got on our project board is we're gonna update some of these conferences and stuff.
You wanna go to September?
Hey, you're looking at something different.
Well, I'm trying to
I'm
update
looking at all
August.
dates. Ashley and I have got to take care of the contract for the convention center. We've already got that kind of in the works. Billy, strategic plan, get prepared for your spring stuff. I know you're working on some of that. One of the things too about strategic plan, if you got something assigned to you, we need to make sure we're communicating that back to them so that they can get prepared a little bit early before we go to strategic planning. Supervisory committee, keep doing your classes, keep all that moving. Training and education, late September, mid-October, start looking for fire rescue presenters. I think that's it. One thing, Terry, I wanted to mention, I just thought about this. We're gonna add to our, I don't know, application, whatever we're calling it, for our presenters, a caveat in there about making sure that, you know, we've already got it written, I'll get Brooke and Rick to share it with you. But it's basically a disclaimer that, you know, if you teach something that's copyrighted, we're not held harmless or anything like that. I don't know if we have that, we're gonna add that to our documentation, just to make sure that we're protecting the association. That's really about it. The biggest thing for you guys is we'll be doing our budget retreat in Jasper County. Don't know where we're staying yet, you do?
Yeah, we're staying at the Fairfield Inn, the new Fairfield Inn in Hardyville. But don't worry, friends, I'm going to check it out next week to make sure it meets our expectations.
Here, we took a boat ride.
We could, canoe.
Does everybody have access to the playbook? You don't, Ben doesn't, Ryan doesn't, anybody else?
Well, I think I do, but I couldn't figure it out.
Well, I think so. If you don't have access, see Brick. Brick will get you into it. That way you can kind of see. It's a playbook that just kind of helps us stay on track throughout the year. Staff actually needs to go back and go through this and clean some of this up. Some of these conferences have changed from different times of year. But we're working through that process now. That's really it. That's all I really have. There's nothing really crazy other than get ready for fall work session. And we gotta get this back, this training policy back, so we got finalized. That's it. There's still food in there if you want to take it to go, please.
thoughts from the group? Any words you want to close us out with?
Oh, gosh, you don't
Thank you all for making the drive and being here today. We'll get you the information for the budget workshop, and as Ashley reminded us all earlier, make sure you get her your forms and see her for any travel details. So thank you all, and meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, do we have a motion?
I'm sorry.